Okay, why don't we get started? I'd like to call us to order, and if Lisa could do the roll call.
I think Suki does
I
it.
do it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, whoever's going to do it.
Miss Douglas. Is this on? Miss Douglas is excused. Mr. Hamilton.
Here.
Miss Hutland is excused. Mr. Jacobson. Miss Minkowski. Mr. Morrison.
Here.
Miss Salmon.
Here?
Miss Waller.
Okay. Are there any changes to the agenda? Okay. Okay, next we'll have approval of minutes of the previous meeting. Did anybody have any changes or comments? Okay, can someone move to approve those? Can we do that without a quorum?
I don't know.
Can we do that without a quorum? Probably
No.
not. Okay, we'll have to do that at the next meeting then. Okay. Okay, that's fine. No public input, so we're going to go ahead and move to the grants presentations. First one is going to be by Kate Cooper.
Hello,
Hi, Kate.
everybody. It's a pleasure
Hi.
to be here. I'm going to be talking about the project I did that was titled Simple Machines and Movement Exploration. So the grant funds that I received were used to provide a class of students at Yankee Ridge Elementary School, specifically a class of third grade students, working with their teacher, Lorna Mesri, in collaboration with Betty Allen, who's the dance and drama curriculum director for District 116, also the dance and drama teacher at Yankee Ridge, with a 1-week hands-on, bodies-on, as I like to say, intensive experience of science concepts through dance, movement, music, rhythmic and rhyming call and response, visual supports, and a lot of participation. We had a week where we worked on the activities, and in the following week we spent 2 days preparing, where we consolidated the work into an interactive museum with 6 discrete stations, if you will. The third graders presented this interactive museum in 2 40-minute sessions to 2 different second grade classes. And there are only 2 strands of the second grade at Yankee Ridge, so it was really all the second graders participated in this program. In each of the presentations, the third graders taught back what they had learned about key concepts related to the science concepts of force, load, gravity, compression, tension, and structures that use compression and tension, levers, work, fulcrums, the different classes of levers, compound machines that used wedges and levers, wheels and action, and axles, friction, which related to that concept, and then simple machine families. They taught using images such as posters and pictures. They used spoken word, call and response, short explanation and question and answer. They included the second grade in the movement explorations to some extent, and they also performed dances for them in the interactive museum. They used physical demonstrations throughout the presentation by building shapes in pairs and small groups, by performing actions to demonstrate many of the scientific principles that they had learned about and were teaching, and involving the second graders in movement, in call and response, in question and answer, and even in a matching game that we did at one point. So every morning in the first week, I, working with Betty Allen, had an hour with the students where we just worked very specifically getting everybody together on the material. And then we split to 2 groups. Some of the students went back to the classroom with Lorna Mesri, and they worked on journal prompts that I had provided so that they could have reflection of discussion as well as writing and drawing. And then a small group was kept just to work specifically on preparing materials for that day's learning. So they would then become responsible for that station, as it were. And the small groups would do things like they created posters, so that the students who made the posters would also then read the posters in the interactive museum presentation. Some of them had to rehearse movement demonstrations and write narratives that went with that. And so by retaining small groups every day that were responsible for those stations, we distributed the responsibility among all of the students so that every child had a role in the success of the final presentation, not just the students who typically would be selected for that purpose. So we practiced, we polished, and we performed in the second week. On Monday, we rehearsed the complete museum. Some students were readers or narrators. Some led participatory activities. Some were demonstrating ideas or performing small dances. And everybody participated in 2 of the activities, including a culminating dance that showed many of the simple and compound machines that we had learned. And then on Tuesday, the students performed and presented. It was really such a thrill to see these kids rise to the occasion of public speaking, reading, teaching, modeling, explaining, or presenting science concepts with presence and clarity. The second graders were very attentive and engaged throughout, and Betty and I and Lorna could not have been happier. And so now I would like to show you a very blurry little slideshow that I put together because everybody was moving all the time. And someday I'll figure this one out. So this is the very beginning, our first station, the first poster made by one of our students, who then pointed it out. While some of the group demonstrated some of the words because we were using a lot of gesture, including the students in gesture. You can see just from the pictures how invested these kids were, what pride they took in their work. In some instances, when students needed a little bit of scaffolding in their own learning, we helped them with their posters. This was the second station where we worked on compression and tension. This was the poster reader for tension. Our structures, which we were going to then show once we taught these concepts, were demonstrated by one person who pointed to the pictures when the children got them right, children who showed the structures. So here's an arch, and the kids could raise their hands. The second graders could be called on by the leader. Here's some of our third graders who sat behind the second graders at each of the stations. This is a cantilever. I think they got that one right. Yep, she's pointing to the cantilever. This one would have been a suspension bridge and a flying buttress. And this is an inverted dome using both compression and tension and a lot of cooperation among the students. In the next station, where we learned about work, fulcrums, and levers, again, the poster writers were also the poster readers. They did a nice job with designing, even if sometimes their layout left something to be desired, as you will see in this example. But they sure had fun. So then we saw some examples of the 3 classes of levers. The first was a teeter-totter, demonstrated by our 2 gentlemen here. You had to sit on each other's feet. You had to keep the fulcrum together at the knees. You had to use force and load alternately. The second one was an example of second-class lever of a wheelbarrow. And for our third-class levers, there were many small things. You're going to see the student here was talking about knives and how they're third-class levers and how her body is a fulcrum. In the next station, we started to combine wedges and levers into compound machines. So we're going to see some examples of these compound machines demonstrated by children. Again, the poster readers were the poster designers. They're talking about forks and shovels and how it is that it's a compound machine. This was a real reach for these 2 kids, and they did a great job. This is a scissors. And this is a crosscut saw. In our wheel and axle station, now this was a poster, I want to say, that had been done in a previous year. That was very complete and well designed. You can see the difference between the 2. This is the dance that was about the wheel and axle. These are rollers. This was just making the axle being here. This is the crank. And once again, this was sort of in between the dance. They would swing elbows, but it was always with the idea, the intentionality of the idea of the axle being at the point of the elbows. So they had to create hubs, spokes with rims for this, which in dance terms would have been a Texas star, and reverse it. So they took it in one line of direction, and then they reversed it and took it the other way, as you see here. Taking a lot of cooperation. Swing your partner. And then they had to get together and figure out how to put ball bearings into the hub. In this case, they used their heads. We're getting to the big ta-da. This is the last swinging part. They were fantastic. All right, so then in our friction station, we had the children get up and move through different friction environments. Ice, sandpaper, glue, and oil. And finally, in our simple machine station here, we talked about how the wedge and screw are part of the inclined plane family, how the lever stands by itself, and how the pulley is part of the wheel and axle family. And we ended with a dance that had in it all of these things. Here we're seeing the crosscut saw. We're seeing chopping as though they were working a third-class lever. This is screwing down and unscrewing. I think they're still on the way down for that. And then this is transporting across with a pulley like on a clothesline, working in partners, one pretending to be the shirt, and this would be one's pretending to be the flag, and this is a flagpole pulley. And then they could do anything they wanted for the big finish. One chose a crank, another was chopping. Ta-da. We thank you very much. And Betty and I were super happy with the results. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any comments, questions? Okay. I just wanted to mention again that you're going to be publishing something on this soon.
Yes, I'm working with the publisher. I've been actually, really trying to make this stuff available to other people, because the track that you heard behind us, this is one of our tracks. There's many songs and dances that I've already recorded, and I'd turn this off if I could. Does this stop it? Okay, that's stopped. Okay. It will be a book that teaches these things. The CD will be music. The DVD will be modeling with students, and I will be working with some of these students. And there will also be downloadable visuals, including some of these poster ideas, possibly smartboard applications. I'm still working on that, so that a teacher, either a classroom, PE, music, or other, who's working with upper elementary students could then do this kind of project without me being in the room.
When will that be available?
2015. I'm supposed to have this all together into the publisher by August 1st. Pray for me. And with the idea of a 2015 release. So if I get it there in time, otherwise it'll be 2016, but I'm really aiming for the deadline.
Okay. Well, thanks very much, Katie.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Do you have a question?
Yeah, maybe a comment and a question. First, an apology. I'm sorry I got here late. But then a comment. It's so interesting that you're working directly across this two cultures divide between science and art. And are there other people who are working in relatively early education to bridge this divide, or are you?
Oh, I'm not unique. I would
how
say,
unique are you?
well, I'm unique because I'm doing it my
Right.
way in dance, and I'm in
Right.
this community, so there aren't very many teaching artists in this community. I am a Kennedy Center workshop presenter, and there are about 60 of us, and everyone is working in some way doing arts integration. I would say that you might call this arts enhancement, because I was very focused on the idea that the outcome would be that they would learn the content deeply by having embodied it. And I wasn't as concerned with teaching them all of the elements of dance. So in an authentic, according to the Kennedy Center definition of arts integration, you'd say 50% of the art form, 50% of other content. This, I would say, was potentially more arts enhancement, because I would say, I don't know what the percentage of science was, but I know it's greater than 50%, since that was my objective here. But there is a world of people called teaching artists who are dedicating themselves to trying to present content through the arts that teaches both the art form and other content.
This reminds me of a piece that I bet you're familiar with, Ferocious Beauty Genome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Liz Lerman did that.
Yeah.
And Liz Lerman, I would say, would be a soul sister. Absolutely. She's just working in different, with different populations in a different way, but the intent is the same. So you totally got that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, our next presentation will be from Steve Ingram. It's fine, thanks.
There you go. All right, I'll sit down to the microphone here. Nice to see all of you today. My name's Steve Ingram. I'm a photographer. Been doing photography for about 25 years. Started out in college working for the student newspaper, and then became a photojournalist for about 13 years. Also ran a photo studio, and I've also done a lot of workshops. I also do a lot of alternate process, cyanotype, tintypes, pinhole cameras. I really enjoy the non-traditional part of photography because you don't always have to have a $5,000 DSLR, Hasselblad, or whatever to go out and make pictures. And so the reason I wanted to do this project was to show that you don't need all that expensive equipment. I ended up using potato chip cans as my camera, so we'll talk about that in a minute. And then to try and utilize how photography can go out to the masses, how I can talk to people about that and integrate it into the community. That was my whole objective for my grant. So we'll start out. So the project overview was, it was an Envision 365 grant proposal. I was going to interview 30 Urbana residents and asking them why they live in Urbana in 2013. Use a simple pinhole camera to take portraits of each participant, and then end the project with a gallery showcasing the work. Also, throughout the summer, I was going to do some workshops where I can have people come up and build pinhole cameras of their own and go out and take their own pictures to learn the process. So here's an example of a pinhole camera. It's a simple photographic device. I'm using the potato chip cans because I think they're kind of cool, you know, that you can take a Pringles can and dump the potato chips out and tape it up and put photo paper inside and go out and take a picture with it. So it kind of breaks that barrier, that cost barrier, the hands-on barrier. You can drop it, you know, you can have little kids hold them. You don't have to worry about it, you know, that's the fun part. So there's my kids up in the right corner, smiling happy with their dad. And then there's a picture of my daughter on the left that I made with a potato chip can. What's kind of neat is I put the rubber bands on it so that I can shoot verticals, because you can put them, you can set them on the table, you know, like that. But if you want to shoot verticals, they roll. So I put the rubber bands on it so I can attach it to a tripod like a regular camera, and that's how I was able to take her photograph. So I kicked off my presentation, or my grant proposal, with Worldwide Pinhole Photography Day. They designate this day every year. It's the last Sunday in April, to have people from around the world take pinhole pictures. So they're from Europe and Asia and, you know, Japan and the United States. And so I worked with the Urbana Museum of Photography. We used blackout material and turned a room about 10 by 10 square into a giant walk-in dark room and put tables inside. And then we allowed people to build their own cameras and then go and develop their own pictures. So here's the cameras. I went to the store. There they are, up in the right left corner. Pringles cans for sale, $1.19. So you can see I used some real expensive equipment, you know. Took them home, washed them, cut little squares out on the side, and then painted all the insides black with black spray paint just to get the process most of the way done. And then on the bottom there is all the stuff sitting out waiting for the folks to come to the workshop, scissors and tape and the cameras and all that kind of stuff. People ended up picking a camera of their own. They used a push pin and little pieces of aluminum from Coke cans. I like Mountain Dew, so there's some Mountain Dew cans in there. Poke it through, sand it, and then tape it to the outside of the can. And then we took photographic paper, we put it inside the cans, and I let them go out and take their own pictures. So here they are back in the dark room. They are processing all the negatives. You can see the ones up in the top are done. The ones on the bottom right-hand corner, they're all hanging on a clothesline with a fan. Real simple stuff. So while the negatives were drying, we had some snacks for people to have. And it took about 10, 15 minutes. And then we went back in the darkroom when we processed all the positives. So you take the negative, you lay it on another piece of photographic paper, you shine light through it, and you make a positive image. So here's some folks here with their cameras. and the pictures that they made. And I'll tell you what, I had some fantastic artists that made some really neat work. I let them take their camera, their positive and negatives that we made home, and some of them uploaded them to the worldwide Pinhole Photography site so that everyone in the world could see them, so it was kind of neat. So this was me. I had a lot of momentum. I just got the grant on the 1st of April. I had this workshop at the end of April, and then I had a huge life-changing moment in my life. I got promoted from being just an hourly employee to a supervisor at a large manufacturing plant. So I was unable to finish the project. I ended up going from about 40 hours a week to 75 hours a week. Like right now, I worked straight through the weekend, so I work Monday through, what's today? Is today Tuesday? Today's Tuesday, right? So today I put in about 10 to 11 hours a day, and I just lost track of the project. I ended up giving up just about everything this year. So to learn the job that I'm in, I didn't realize that the job change was going to be so dramatic for me as an artist, and so I'm really bummed. So what I'm going to do is I only got half the grant. I have a check in my wallet here to pay you guys back for the money I didn't use, and I ended up using only a little over $130 for that workshop. So I wish I could have continued, and I apologize. I know you guys pick grant winners out of a pool, and I appreciate you doing that for me, and I wish I could have fulfilled it. So, yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
Ginny,
Would
go
you
ahead.
explain that about the picture, how you do that again with the Pringles can? They go out there and they have the photographic paper inside the can.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then what happens?
So so you don't need a lens. If you poke a really small hole in a piece of aluminum, that lets the light into the camera. And I use a piece of electrical tape for a shutter. So set the can down, pull back the electrical tape, and then let the light in for like a minute, and then close it back up again, and then you can bring that camera back into the darkroom area. And once you're under red safe light, you can open up the Pringles cans and take out the photographic paper and process it through like a photograph in a darkroom. So that's it. And like I said, I wanted to do so much more, and it's nuts. In fact, I'm on the clock right now. So I came here to do my presentation, and I got to go back and fight the craziness. I manage 70 people over 14 lines. Yeah, that's where I'm at. So, do you guys have any questions for me?
No. Did you have anything?
No, not really. I guess my question would be, I mean, your project is done, but do you want to? I know you've got to get back, but do you want to spend 1 or 2 minutes more, maybe saying why? What are the unique advantages, or what are the unique attributes of pinhole photography as either an art form or a form for arts education?
So I can do two things. So pinhole cameras are neat because they don't require a lens. It kind of freaks people out when they see it for the first time, a poked hole in the side of an object. Has an infinite depth of field, so everything from a few inches away from the camera until infinity is going to be in focus because of the small aperture. From a teaching aspect, I've taught workshops just like this for kids, and they love it because it takes all the fear of the breaking your parents' camera or the complexity of a camera away, and I just say, hey, we're going to take this potato chip can. You can go out and take a picture of whatever you want. All you got to do is count to 60 in your head, put the tape back on it, and bring it back in. So I've done it in the workshop. I had like a 4-year-old, and I had some folks that were in retirement age. So I can teach anyone how to make a picture from 4 till 70 years old with the same camera, which is kind of fun.
Where does pinhole photography stand in the history of photography? Did it precede or postdate photography with lenses?
So before they figured out how to capture the image permanently onto a piece of photographic paper or negative, they would have darkened rooms where they would open up a little hole and project the outside onto a wall, and kind of have like tea parties where they would watch people upside down walking outside and stuff like that in these kind of enclosed pinhole camera rooms. And then it just kind of evolved into being able to make cameras with the same abilities, you know.
And that's a few hundred years ago?
Yeah,
or-
a few hundred years ago.
Yeah.
Is it the same idea as a camera obscura, just in a
Yep.
smaller form?
Yeah, a camera obscura can use either a pinhole or it can use a lens. So, but yeah, it's pretty much the same concept. So, yep. All right, well, thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, our next grant presentation will be from 40 North, 88 West.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Kelly.
For who doesn't know me, I think I know everybody, but I'm Kelly White, the Executive Director of 40 North, 88 West. And thank you so much for having me here today. I also wanted to thank Lisa. I'm presenting on 2013 Boneyard, but you were amazing for the most recent round of grants. And I know you kind of came in right in the middle of everything, but I wanted to say thank you for all that you do and for helping with this process as well. Okay, so I'm going to talk about Boneyard 2013, so not the one we just had, but the year before. We spend a lot on, obviously, marketing the entire festival countywide. The grant that we receive is focused, obviously, on the Urbana Day and Urbana activities. As usual, we did our signature image search, so we do a call for any artist in the Champaign County area to submit images. Leif Olson's work Rover that you see here was chosen, and it's a fun project every year to get those submissions and get to. I love that phone call actually, where I get to call the artist and tell them they're the Boneyard signature image artist, and they get to have their artwork from tiny web banners all the way up to gigantic billboards. So there's a lot of marketing pieces behind this. This is the example of the poster. Postcard that we send out to over 2,000 people. And then also what we have done several years, a lot of Boneyard, we have 2 staff, so obviously we depend on a lot of dedicated volunteers and collaborations. And one of the best collaborations for Boneyard is with the UBA, the Urbana Business Association. Cynthia, the executive director, was on the committee this year. Actually, this current year, she was actually the committee chair. But this year, she was on the committee, and she helped organize the Boneyard Connect, which we have usually in early February, an event that we have where we invite anybody who's interested in participating in Boneyard, artists, venues, kind of just get people talking about it. This year was actually very successful, and every artist that was there actually found the connection and found a venue that night, which is great. So that's always been a great collaboration that we hope continues. They also, the 2013 Boneyard, the UBA created this wonderful banner, which was incredible for downtown Urbana, right there on the parking garage that everybody would see. Really helps. They put it up a few weeks before the event, and it's one of the best ways to kind of spread the word, because obviously we do a lot of social media, we do a lot of emailing, we do mailing, but sometimes you can't beat just a giant banner that people can see every day when they walk by. And then obviously one of the major marketing proponents is the map that we create. So we have over 100 venues, and we take in all those registrations and we put the whole map together, and that gets distributed not only in the News Gazette, but they also give us a few thousand overruns that then we distribute to all the venues and any place we think people can pick up the information. Another group that we collaborate well on for Boneyard is the Urbana Park District. For the first time in 2013, they let us use these super cool little kiosks that you see over here on the right. Because what we would do every year before now is we have like an info booth where people would come by and want information, and basically all they wanted was, can I have a copy of the map? And so we would have volunteers there all day just basically handing people maps. So we thought this kiosk was a great idea because then it would have copies of the maps people could pick up. It also had an enlarged map on the side so they could look at a big map of Urbana and pick things out. And then we also started a new aspect this year, and we also kept it for this year as well, is a text to vote your favorite venue, because we really wanted to help those venues that really give, go above and beyond with their display and with their special receptions, and so people could text to vote what they thought was their favorite venue. And so that was listed on the kiosk as well. And then also the Urbana Park District did a kids craft area inside of Lincoln Square that you could see there on the left. Also for downtown Urbana, what we did is we coordinated several outdoor performances so that as people were potentially walking around Main Street, maybe going into Lincoln Square and viewing some of the venues in there, right there in front of the parking deck, we scheduled a variety of different performances for people to check out. This is actually a really great group. These are Unity High School students, a girls a cappella group called Surreal Sound. It was very windy, but they did a phenomenal job. Also, when you go inside of Lincoln Square, we have a few different shows that have become kind of tradition. This is at Art Coop, where they do their Something I Love show, which is all 5x5, which is really cool. They get, obviously, lots of artists to put work in it, but they also get a lot of kids' pieces as well. And that top right slide, I just love how it looks with all those hundreds of 5x5 pieces. And basically, people just create a 5x5 piece, something that they like, so the variety of subject matter is great, too. Also inside the mall, that's become kind of a tradition that's worked out really well, is the Conservatory of Central Illinois holds their annual playathon on the Boneyard Day inside the mall. So it's just a great chance for us to kind of be able to cross-promote the event, because we have a lot of people out that day that are interested in the arts, and so it's a perfect time for them to come and check out the conservatory. And then at one point, the East Central Illinois Youth Orchestra plays as well. It usually draws a pretty massive crowd inside of Lincoln Square. And then also what happened to correlate this to the 2013 year was the Midwest Zine Fest, which happened inside of the Independent Media Center in the IMC. So once again, they were promoting it, but then we could cross-promote it as Boneyard because it was a free event dedicated to people who make zines. And they also had lots of things for sale and interactive workshops, including the one on the right there where they're doing stenciling and all different aspects of zine making. And then a few more of the outdoor performances. This is a group called No Comment, which is a co-ed a cappella group from U of I. And actually about a week after this, they were going to New York for the finals of the International Championship of Collegiate a cappella. They were phenomenal. I can't even book them now. That's how big they are. I can't even get them to perform now because they're too famous for me now. But they were absolutely fantastic. And then a few other ones. We had the Urbana Dance Company up on the right. We had Big Blue Stem String Band. And then also we had a kind of a dance/demonstration from the HMD Academy of Taekwondo, because he said he really feels like his version of Taekwondo is very almost kind of a balance of artistic dance in a way. So they did a really cool performance as well. And then a few more. This is Urbana Land Arts, which I think have received a few grants. I think they have current year got some grants. And it's always been fantastic to see what they come up with at Boneyard. And they, last year, year before, 2012 and 2013, they had the exhibitions. There's Meredith sitting there, very interesting sculpture right there in their front yard. And they clear out their whole house, right? They push everything out of the way and do like a really cool exhibition inside their house for Boneyard, which is always fascinating. And then speaking of Steve, he did a real interesting thing at the Urbana Museum of Photography. Speaking kind of some of the stuff that he was mentioning before, he was doing tintypes, and I just absolutely love this because he made a tintype of the Boneyard poster, which I thought was fantastic. So I just wanted to end there and to thank you so much for not only providing grants for for the Boneyard, but also all the grants you provide for all the different groups and individuals. I love coming to these and hearing all the different projects that people are working on, and it's very inspiring, and I'm so glad that you guys are here to provide the grants for some of those people to inspire them and explore all the different levels of art in this community. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any comments, questions? Okay, thanks, Kelly.
Thanks.
You do such a great job down there at 40 North, too. I think we're very happy to collaborate with you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, our last grants presentation is going to be Amira Davis.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, or evening. And I want to echo Kelly's sentiments. I'm very appreciative of the funding support I received for this project that I did. I've been in this area 17 years, and I heard about the commission when it first started. I was actually invited to participate, but this is the first year I've actually taken advantage of the funding. And the project that I did is the Community Saturday School open house with the funds that I got from the Urbana Arts Council, but it was part of a much larger program, and I want to give context to how those funds were used with the discussion of the project. First of all, sorry you can't see that image at the top. I just want to explain who I am, because this is my first time meeting or seeing a lot of you. I'm a local mother. I live in Urbana, but I'm an artist. I've done arts and education programs for about 25 years now throughout the Midwest. I started in Chicago with Urban Gateways, Kansas City Young Audiences, and I've done several community-based programs. After I did an arts and education program out of the Boys and Girls Club, I returned to the university and got my master's and doctorate in performance-based activities. I started this community, and one of the things I do is this Shake-A-Ray down at the bottom. I make and play that as part of the material culture. I've received funding from the Illinois Arts Council as a master artist and as a fellowship finalist for making this. And it's been a part of all the programs that I do for youth. I even, offered this as one of the arts classes for the Saturday schools, but it's very hard to get kids interested in things that they've had limited exposure to. And so this is one of the reasons for having the program, and also for doing the open house so that we could expose more people to this. The Supplementary Saturday School was based off of postdoc research I did in both Chicago and London, and looking at how we could offer arts from the African diaspora to African American youth. We know that in a community like this, there are very few artists dealing in this particular type of art. So when I first started the cultural arts program out of the Boys and Girls Club, it was because I had moved here with my own children and saw a lack of arts programs for them. They had been involved in West African dance, the drumming community, singing, and those kinds of things, and we just didn't see that when we got here. So I was using my experiences as a mother, looking for those types of resources when I conceptualized this program. But in addition to the arts, with the Community Saturday School, I added the culturally centered literacy program as well. So there's a way to teach literacy through using the arts, but I also found that in order to contextualize the arts of the African American community, there was a need to also teach history as well. So there was a literacy component to it. We provided access to African diasporic history and culture, and we employed artists of Africana diasporic art forms. So the Community Saturday School was a 14-week pilot arts and literacy program. We served approximately 18 youth and 5 mothers. It was essential that we had mothers' involvement of the younger children who were participating in the program, and we had to cap it at 30 participants total because we provided weekly lunches. The program ran from February 1st to April 26th, and from 9:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. every Saturday. When we were given the option by Unit 4 Schools of a site to use, I decided to use BT Washington because it was close to Urbana, and that way we could draw in more youth and families from Urbana. But we offer character development, physical fitness, literacy through Black history. We had a mother circle that met every week, and that picture shows one of the circles we had, so we had infants there as well. Again, the mothers helped to prepare the lunches. We had strategy games. And in the afternoon, we had the arts, and we had 4 arts classes. We had drumming, we had photography, visual artists, and creative writing. And for the visual arts, the creative writing, and the photography, we used teen instructors. 2 of those instructors came from Urbana High School, Naomi Johnson and Naila Davis. They were graduating seniors this year. We also had Richard Andrew Miller, who was a recipient of some arts funding before, but I had known him and worked with him in the West African dance and drum community, and Colette Coco Harmon, who is a university freshman. So the funds were used to help support the open house. We had received a grant from the university's public engagement office, and it didn't quite cover everything that we wanted to do for this program. And the open house was an opportunity to invite the community in to see the arts products that have been created over the 14-week period. We also presented awards. Each child and the parents that participated for the entire 14 weeks received awards. We gave away books. One of the essential parts of this program was to give a stack of books to each child that had attended the program. We had a community meal. This program was, or this open house was advertised through social media and listservs, and we really were hoping to bring out a lot of members of the community to, like I said, explore what we had done and to just find out more about what the Community Saturday School was, in hopes of in the future, when we try a similar program, we would get more buy-in from the parents. And while we had a light turnout, overall, the program has been very well received. I hear people that come up to me and they talk about the fact that they've heard about the Community Saturday School. They want to know when we're going to do another session of the Saturday School program. This is a photo of the books that the youth received. All of the children received at least 5 books, and at least one of those books had to do with the arts. For the high school arts instructors, for example, Naomi Johnson, I gave her a book of African American female artists, the history of that. And for Colette Harmon, she also received a book of famous African American poets from 1950s through the present. So again, in combining arts and literacy, the goal is to get them to read about particular art forms. For the younger children, we had some books that combine art and poetry. So each age group had a book that related arts and literacy together. This is just some pictures of the families that turned out for the event. This is our visual arts class. Naomi Johnson, who is a high school senior, she had approximately 5 students that she worked with. They were aged 5 through 9. One of the things that we used the funds on in particular with this program was we had a mask making workshop. A gentleman named Benjamin Aqua came in with Jennifer O'Connell to do a mask making workshop. He talked about the masking tradition in Ghana, and the kids got a lot from that. Something else they did, I had prepared a slideshow of famous African American artists from the Harlem Renaissance period through the present, and she exposed the children to that, and they made a collage based on Jacob Lawrence's work. We also did an instrument making workshop with the children. So this is an image from the mask making workshop, and this was actually a photograph done by one of the students in the photography class. So there was a lot of overlap with these programs. And this is the collage the children made. And again, there were several 5-year-olds, and I think there were an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old, so they were not very old. And this is the display that they had at the open house with their mask. And they made shakers from plastic bottles with duct tape wrappings. They made drums with coffee cans. And each of the shakers was made with a different type of pebble or rice or grain inside of them so that they could get the concept of the different sounds that these instruments made. This is actually Naomi Johnson's work, because a part of the funding was to also allow the artists to display their works. They had been in the program for 14 weeks, and none of the adults, or no one really knew what type of art they themselves produced. So the open house was a chance for them to showcase their works as well. I would have liked for Naomi to try a different method of presentation because we weren't really able to get good images of her work. But here again, this is a top-down learning process, not only for the younger children, but for the young artists as well, because I acted as a mentor for some of these younger artists. With our West African drumming, again, Richard Miller was the percussionist. He taught Manding culture. Not only drumming, but the discipline that goes along with it. These are two 7-year-olds that have a lot of energy. So he was very good at working with them, getting them disciplined. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get a really good recording of them, but I do have this brief, hopefully it'll play, the recording of the boys. Maybe not. Yeah. Which is unfortunate. But he taught them a song and the rhythms, and he also taught them the social context that the rhythm that he gave them came from. So it was really a very broad-based learning opportunities for these young men. Our photography teacher, if you notice, her last name is Davis too. She happens to be my daughter. And I'm very proud of her because she, is in an artistic family. So she took up photography as her weapon of choice. And with the children, she not only taught them technique that she was learning at Urbana High School, but she gave them a history lesson. She had a book on the history of African American photographers from the 19th century to I think the mid-60s. And so she was able to give them a lot of history. She had photo editing equipment that she took there. This is a picture that she took. She participated in the AXO Awards last year, and she was a local winner in the competition. She didn't win nationals, but this is some of her work. This is a picture of her at the bottom here where she did some editing and just showed the many sides of her particular self. This is some of her artwork that she showcased at the open house. It was her current submission to the AXO Awards, and it has a social context to it. She was using the issue of acquaintance or date rape. And I've really been trying to get her to do more with her work in the community. She needed to hurry up. She graduated early from Urbana High School as a junior, and she's on her way to Parsons at the New School in New York to study photography in August. This is the work of her students, though. And one of the asides from this is that the students actually sold some of their photography at the open house. People were very interested in some of the images. Some of the images were of other students. Some parents bought images of their children, so they had their first taste of arts entrepreneurship. And here's a couple of the other images that the youth took during the program. Our creative writing instructor was Colette Coco Harmon. She's now a college freshman, but she participated in the AXO National Awards last year, and she won bronze. And I had worked with her on a different project, and I thought she would be excellent to work with these kids, and it turned out that they just loved her. And she had full participation from these children. They were glad to see her when she showed up every Saturday, and they were quite productive with her. One of the things that had happened is the News Gazette turned out when we were, just to give some air to the program. However, when we saw what was printed, it happened to be something different than what the kids had actually said. And so Aaron Ammons happened to come by, and he was their art instructor for the day, and he helped them write these protest poems where they spoke back to the News Gazette. And, you know, I was hoping that I could, again, give you an example of them reading these works, because this is what the two young ladies did at the open house. They read these particular poems. So, but this one, You Changed Our Words, and another one expressed her disappointment, and both of these were 9-year-old girls. Well, one's 9 and the other is 10. The other arts that we exposed them to was West African dance, and we had 4 weeks of West African dance. The parents participated along with the children. We did a teachers' professional development day on our last day of the program, and so we had teachers from 4 different school districts come and participate in these art forms along with the youth. And the hope was to get schools interested in bringing in more artists, again, around the African diaspora to do these particular art forms. We had 4 weeks, of yoga, and Jessica Nolan came over to do the yoga piece with the children, but she also did storytelling with it, and so it was very inspiring to see her combine movement and storytelling with the youth. We had the IUC Capoeira Club come over. They did songs with the youth. They had them play instruments in addition to learning some of the capoeira moves. And that's it.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Okay. I'm curious, are you going to try to do this again?
The parents definitely want me to, and I did surveys, and overwhelmingly all the youth said, you know, how much they really enjoyed the program, especially the arts component. And so the desire is there. It's just receiving funding to do this kind of work. And it depends on if I remain in the community. Since Naila is my youngest child and she's going off to college, it kind of frees me up to move about if I want to. But I do believe that there's a need for what I do in this community, and I would hope that more schools and, you know, other cultural institutions would want to take advantage of the work that I do.
Well, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to have the monthly progress report from Lisa.
So just an update on current projects. About 6 weeks ago, with the results of the Urbana Grants Program in from 2014, I created and sent out a survey to 2013 and 14 applicants. And I've got some good information and feedback from the whole process itself. And so at some point during the summer, the Grants Committee and I will get together and kind of brainstorm and look at how we can streamline and make the process better and easier for 2015. Boneyard Creek Public Art, it's still looking like late August is going to be the time frame for the park and the construction and the public art project to be finished. And I'm looking into pricing for banners on the poles so we can advertise that, and then working with the Downtown Arts Committee on a ribbon cutting event when we finally figure out when that's going to be. Art Now, Pat interviewed Dr. Michael Jeffords and Susan Post for the June episode, featuring photography, writings of nature and ecology. And we have our second Art at the Market session going on this weekend. We have an eco art workshop with Meredith Foster. She's going to be doing creating artwork with Illinois-based plants and materials and charcoals and things like that. And then we have Don't Ask Klezmer performing, so it should be really wonderful. Facebook, Twitter, on all of that is still growing as we market our programs. Art of the Corridor, we installed that about a month ago, and you can still see tree-based artwork from Prairie Elementary and University Primary School, and that's up until August 3rd. And grants are still waiting on Illinois Arts Council and the 2014-15 grant that we applied for a couple months ago. Some upcoming events, as I said, Art at the Market going on this Saturday, and actually there's a lot of things going on Friday, Saturday, this weekend. We have June 14th, again, Saturday from 1 to 9, the Uncork Urbana Wine Festival. This is a new event created by the UBA, and that's from 1 to 9 in the Busey parking lot. And then Friday, June 13th, we have the first of our summer movies that's coming again in the Busey parking lot. And this is put on by Matt Cho and a lot of the businesses in downtown, and it's called Growing Cities Urban Farming. So that should be really wonderful, too.
I'm sorry, where is that going to be again?
The Busey parking lot.
Okay. Why don't you go, okay. You had a couple announcements here. I think you wanted to mention that you're going to an Americans for the Arts conference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to be heading there for the rest of this week, and this is a National Arts Administration Arts Organization Conference, and it always, you're exhausted when you come back from these things, but there's some good sessions on creative placemaking and public perception of the arts and power of art to transform communities, so I'll come back with a lot of ideas.
Great, sounds good.
And then actually, one other announcement. I had sent everyone an email just before the meeting. Next Tuesday, June 17th, from 5:30 to 7, the Public Art League is having their kind of public unveiling of the sculpture that has been chosen for the upcoming year. So I served on the jury committee for that. And so if anyone's free and wants to come, that's going to be going on Tuesday.
Okay, very good. Well, I think that's about it for our business. Would somebody like to move that we adjourn? Okay, we're done.